Welcome to Miller's Monsters. I'm Mr. Beelzebub. This here is Count Luna. And behind me is Edgar P. the Scully. And earlier this week I told you about Loretta Lynn's haunted Hurricane Mills Plantation. And, well, I'm here to tell you the rest of the story now. And it's a very interesting story as it turns out to be. That one haunting is not the only thing that has been happening at Loretta Lynn's plantation house. And before I do that, I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, hit the like button, set yourself up for notifications so you don't miss another episode. And please tell your friends to like and subscribe as well, and of course watch. That goes along with that, and I thank you in advance for that. So a little history about Loretta Lynn and her mother. Loretta Lynn proclaimed herself to be very clairvoyant, and her mother was as well. And one incident that happened may have proven this fact is one day Clara was went over to Loretta's house and for a visit, and she got there and all of a sudden she was overwhelmed by sadness, and she left shortly after the visit. But before she left, she said, "One of your children are going to die in the creek out back." And so nothing happened for several years, and then one year one of Loretta's sons was riding his horse, fell off his horse somehow and drowned in a creek out back. Coincidence or not, this is really the crazy part, is on that same day Loretta Lynn had a very serious seizure and had to go into the hospital for 3 days. Okay, and she went into a coma for 3 days. And while she was in a coma, her husband found out that their son had passed away, drowned in the creek that her mother had foreseen. And when Loretta came out of her coma, before her husband could tell her about their son, she says, "I already know, our son passed away in the creek." So that alone is terribly creepy, and lends to the credence that Loretta and her mother Clara were very clairvoyant indeed. And I told you about how one of her sons in the brown room woke up to 2 Civil War ghosts trying to steal his boots off his feet. And that's not the only thing that happened in the brown room, though. But before I get into that, I'm going to take a quick break, and you're going to watch about 10 seconds of Luna here, Count Luna, barking at the television because they did an emergency broadcast system test. That went on for a half hour. You only had to listen to it for 10 seconds.
Sound like he wants the favor when he watches his Japanese porn cartoons.
Alright, so back to the brown room. And I also mentioned about the flies. There are hundreds of dead flies all the time in the room. The room was always cold. So the brother Ernest, who was there before, the brother who almost got his boots stolen, did not like being in that room. And the event that led to him never going into that room again was he was sleeping soundly. He woke up from a dead sleep, and the room was cold. And when he looked up, he saw 2 men standing beside his bed watching him sleep. And they were both wearing Civil War era uniforms. And from that day on, Ernest never slept in that room again. Seems like there's a lot of Civil War soldiers, ghosts roaming the grounds. And one day, there have been sightings of Civil War ghosts on the grounds near a creek And one day a visitor was fishing at the creek and saw a Confederate soldier walking across the bridge over the creek, and by the time he got to the other side, he disappeared. And then in another sighting, an employee of the museum was taking a stroll by the same creek when they walked up on a pair of uniformed ghosts sitting by a ghostly fire having a conversation. So there seems to be a whole lot of paranormal activity going on here. Then you had what they called the slave pit, and obviously a plantation during that time had slaves on the property, and there was a trap door on the front porch of the plantation, and when you opened that door, you looked down and you saw cages and chains, and what they believed it was used to put misbehaving slaves in to punish. And one night, Loretta Lynn and a friend of hers was watching TV, and she thought she heard someone walking across the porch. Didn't think anything of it the first time. Then she heard someone crossing the porch again for a second time, and then they heard the sound of chains rattling in the slave pit. And after hearing that, Loretta proclaimed that there was a ghost that walked across her porch. And even the previous owner is said to haunt this site as well. His name was James T. Anderson. And James T. Anderson is said to roam around the house, but he's very, very protective of certain items. Okay, and there is a wall that runs along the stairs to the plantation, and on this wall is all of Loretta Lynn's framed albums, and there's tours that go on here, and Loretta tells the tour guides, do not touch the framed albums along this path. And one day one of the tour guides forgot, and James T. Anderson was pissed and pushed the guide down the stairs. And at one point after that, Loretta Lynn once gathered some friends. They held a seance in the home. They made contact with Anderson's ghost, and he angrily pounded the table, eventually breaking it and slamming it on the floor. And that was the end of that seance. And then, folks, there's more. Even more. There's the lady in white, and this is believed to be the wife of James T. Anderson. And this one was witnessed by Peggy Lynn, Loretta Lynn's daughter, and she was sleeping when she woke up to a feeling of being watched. And when she looked out of her open bedroom door, she saw a lady in a white gown staring at her from the hallway. And she called for her nanny, and before the nanny could arrive, the ghost moved into the bathroom and vanished. And they believe, again, the lady in white was the wife of James T. Anderson. Her first child died the day that it was born, and she died less than 2 weeks afterward. So this Hurricane Mills Plantation is sure chock full of ghosts, and you can tour it. I don't know if they're touring again or not. Obviously they were closed for a while, and unfortunately Loretta Lynn has passed, so I don't know what has happened to the ownership of the house, or if they're even still giving tours of the house. But man, that is a fascinating story of several spirits that are haunting that plantation. So I hope you liked what you saw and heard, and you hit that subscribe, ring the bell, hit the like button, set yourself up for notifications so you don't miss another episode. Let's get Luna's face on here before we go. That's a good girl. Yes. I hope you enjoyed watching Luna bark. And please tell your friends to like, subscribe, and watch us as well. And I will talk to you later.